Welcome. My name is Lieutenant Robbie Seal. I am the Community Resource Liaison with the Warren County Sheriff's Office, as well as the current chairman of our Front Royal Warren County TRIAD. Again, welcome for everybody who's here today. We expect a little bit more, but of course those that could not attend, hopefully they will be watching, as we obviously are going to have this videotaped for everybody in the community to see afterwards. A lot of people are not familiar with what SALT TRIAD is, or TRIAD in general. But it's a great program that originated in the Sheriff's Office. We'll talk a little bit more about the history on that. Before we get started on my comments as chairman, just a few housekeeping amenities. I want to mention, obviously, we have coffee. If those that haven't helped themselves already, coffee, some refreshments for you to partake in, and of course, our restrooms are out the hallway. As you go out the door. So, again, welcome. At this time, I would like to introduce and ask our chaplain of the Warren County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Roger Vores, to come up and give our invocation for this morning's event.
Thank you. Praise God. Let us pray. Father God, thank you today for watching over us. Father, we ask you to be with us. We come to you today asking for blessings on this community, but not only on this community, but on our nation as a whole. Father, we ask for guidance and direction for people in authority, for the ones who are making decisions that will affect the American people. We ask for wisdom and clarity in all they seek and the accomplishments they do. Father God, we thank you for the community that cares for everyone, but especially for our seniors that have contributed so many things through their lifetime. And now may we honor and respect them by offering protection from the things and people who may seek out to harm them. Father God, we thank you for our leaders and our governing bodies within this community that are working to put things in place for just that purpose. Father, give them guidance, give them direction, give them wisdom, and give them protection, Father, in all they do. And Father God, we just ask you to be with the ones in Florida. Father, watch over them, give them strength, give them hope. And Father God, let them know we're thinking of them. And give you praise and honor and glory for all. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. At this time, for those that are able to stand, we'd like to pay tribute to our country and our flag, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Now, there's a lot of people that know me as long as I've been in this community, but I promise you I'm going to keep my comments brief. I know that's hard for you to believe.
Oh, okay.
Very much so. As I gaze around this room, I see a lot of people that have a heart like mine. And when I say a heart like mine, a heart for a group of people that are very important to me, important in my work, important in the basis of why I became successful in my own right in my life. And I'm talking about our senior citizens. Now, we have some very special guests in this room, from our state level to our local level, government officials. Now, I'm a little biased, but as I gaze out here, I have a contingency of faces that I see that represent our seniors in our community. And in my eyes, you are the VIPs here today. So I congratulate you. I do have to chuckle, however, because in looking at these faces, one of the things that I do myself and Terry, obviously Sergeant Fritz, we visit the senior center. I try to be there every week and talking to them about scams or just anything that's going on in their lives that they have questions on. But I never did think, now that I'm in my 60s, on occasion, I would have my older friends once in a while refer to me as, quote, "You're just a baby," unquote. So, you know, and I tell you what, I've been trying to be accepted in this group. I really have. But for now, I just go around and just tell people I'm just a junior, senior. So, and of course, not only me, but my own boss, Sheriff Mark Butler. He makes it a point, a lot of people don't know this, but he makes a point periodically to go to our senior center again. And he has a talent. And he brings that talent with him in the form of a guitar and a singing voice. And he entertains our seniors on occasion, and they really enjoy that side of him and what he does for our seniors. So we're very fortunate to have a sheriff that can play the guitar and sing. Yeah, absolutely. So, what is TRIAD? A lot of people don't know what our TRIAD, or what TRIAD, they don't know we exist, but we've existed for a while. This program out of the Sheriff's Office, actually a charter program from our Attorney General's office. So what is TRIAD, and why are we here today? Well, I'm going to leave that up to a cohort of mine, Sergeant Terry Fritz. Speaking of Sergeant Terry Fritz, the basis of why we're here today is because of his idea and his prowess in getting our esteemed guest, our Attorney General, the Honorable Jason Miyares, here today to speak. He will also be our keynote speaker today. So we congratulate you and taking time out from your schedule to be here with us. Sergeant Fritz worked hand in hand with a member of the OAG's office. She is the community liaison officer, Mr. Patty Benders, and securing our Attorney General's room, I guess, for out of the schedule to be here today. So I'm going to end my comments again. You're proud of me, I ended them. And let Sergeant Fritz come up here and continue with why we're here and what TRIAD's about, and carry on the MC of this event. Sergeant Fritz?
Thank you, sir. All right, so what is TRIAD? TRIAD is a cooperative effort of the Office of the Attorney General, law enforcement agencies, police, fire, and sheriffs, and senior citizens, senior organizations, and focusing on reducing crime against our most vulnerable citizens, our senior citizens. So the goal of TRIAD is to reduce the fear of crime and victimization among seniors by increasing awareness of scams and frauds targeting them, strengthening communication between the law enforcement and senior communities, and educating seniors on local and state resources that are available in their community. The goal is accomplished through speaking engagements, community collaborations, targeted trainings for seniors and law enforcement practitioners, providing a support mechanism to the current local TRIAD groups, and marketing the TRIAD concept to non-participating localities. Today, Virginia has over 200 cities and counties and towns with signed TRIAD agreements. Virginia TRIAD also has been recognized by the National Association of TRIADS, Inc. as having the highest number of active local groups nationwide, and is the only state in the nation with a statewide coordinated office at the executive level of government. And that's what we're here today. We're going to establish that agreement. So a brief history of the Warren County Front Royal TRIAD. And the Front Royal Warren County TRIAD began in 2001. Currently, the Sheriff's Office provides a deputy representative to attend monthly meetings and assist with fundraising and other program support to sustain this program. We also serve as the current chairperson of the group. The concept of TRIAD equates to the following three tiers or triangle of services to the senior community. Senior citizen involvement as active members of the council, seniors as provided with the opportunity to directly participate in any or all of the meetings and decision-making process of this program. Law enforcement involvement provides crime prevention, education regarding awareness, and prevention of scams, property crimes, fraud, community safety, and home security strategies. Support agencies and organizations and community partners all function as a combined consultant base or provides our senior support services within the Northwestern Virginia area. Examples include churches, Department of Social Services, senior centers, healthcare organizations, and Seniors First. So the continued success of the Front Royal Warren County TRIAD Council is directly related to the cooperative efforts to all the entities listed above. So we would like to recognize a few of the entities that we have here today. So some of you all have been asked because we would like to present you guys with a certificate of participation, thanking you guys for your continued efforts within the community to bring great services and keeping our seniors safe. So when I call the names of the organization, if a representative is here, please come forward and we'll present you with a certificate. And we'd like to have a photo if possible. So if you're able to hang out for a photo. Okay? Ready?
Yes.
All right, the first one we would like to recognize is the Warren County Department of Social Services. So if there's a representative here.
Michelle? Thank you. I guess we're getting on film.
Give it one.
Smile.
All right, the next community organization used to be Shenandoah Area Agency on Aging, but now they go by Seniors First. So if there was a representative for Senior First.
Manny?
All right, Phoenix Project.
Tammy? Hi.
Hi.
Blue Ridge Hospice. Nobody from Blue Ridge Hospice. All right, one of them.
I will mention, however, for those that did not show up, Patty Fadley obviously would be the person in mind that would have accepted this. She is a member of our TRIAD Council, yes.
This one is to an individual who's been very instrumental with our TRIAD program. So we would like to recognize community partner Carol Miller.
Carol is the TRIAD's current secretary and past chairman. Okay.
And the next one, I'm a little bit partial to, probably because we're related, but I'd like to recognize my brother, Brandon Fritz, with Valley Health. He's been very instrumental with our DVA kickback.
Yeah, I'll let you give them. Yeah. Actually, look like brothers.
No denying that. All right, the next one would be the Warren County Senior Center.
Misty. Misty is the lady that actually manages the Warren County Senior Center, tries to keep our seniors in line, or vice versa.
It's a hard job.
All right, the next one, the gentleman operating behind the camera, the Royal Examiner.
Oh my gosh.
Without like we school and national media, we wouldn't be able to get our message out as effectively, so we'd like to present him with a certificate.
How you gonna take your own picture, Mike?
Yeah,
All right, we're almost done. The Warren Coalition.
This is Celeste. Hi.
The Front Royal Elks Lodge.
Thank you, sir.
The Front Royal Moose Lodge.
Mr. Wayne Seelock. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, and the last three that we have are all going to be participants of the signing ceremony. So I'd like to recognize the Front Royal Police Department.
Chief McGalis. Chief. Thank you, sir.
Yes, indeed.
The Warren County Sheriff's Office. last but not least, Warren County Department of Fire and Rescue Services.
Chief Jimmy Bonzano.
Hi, Robin.
Hi. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, briefly, and then, water. We do have a cast of members in here that I work with and I love working with. We tend to get together every month if possible. These are the members, and I'll just recognize them obviously as a group and ask them to stand. These are the members that have the extra heart to join in on this Front Royal Warren County TRIAD Council. And could I ask my council members to please stand and be recognized as far as your involvement in our group and doing what we can for our seniors. Let's give them that.
So now at this point in time, we're going to ask the Attorney General to come up. He can give a few words, and then we will go into the contract signing ceremony.
Thank you. Well, it is fantastic to be in one of the most special places in the Commonwealth. One of the benefits of this job is I get to see every nook and cranny of Virginia. And this area is really just both, it's gorgeous and there's no better place to be in the fall. So it's an honor to be here, to be back. And in many ways, I'm here to just say thank you. You know, I tell my daughters, I have 3 girls, and I tell them all the time, gratitude's one of the most underrated of all human traits. Ingratitude's one of the ugliest, but gratitude is one of the most underrated. And I have gratitude for the men and women that have worked together on this important project. And I tell my staff all the time, you know, 90% of life's problems can be traced to either poor or miscommunication. That's the one thing I've gotten in my age. Though I'm not, you know, almost seen. I'm in my 40s, so I don't know what I would be classified what they would call me, a baby.
Or an infant.
But that's a lot of what this is making sure our most vulnerable are protected. And a lot of that's just giving them the right information. Sometimes I like to say that the Attorney General, our job and our staff job is we're the people's protector, both from bad actors, violent criminals, and either more big corporations maybe want to take advantage of people, or scammers. And this is part of our role. And what we have seen in our society, and we have kind of, I love to talk to high school groups. And I tell them, one of the things that age gives you is perspective. You learn more in life from your mistakes than your victories. And you get a unique perspective as you get older that you just don't have in your youth. And so we have reached this kind of unique moment in our society. Western civilization is the only civilization on the globe that does not, that has over the last several decades lost respect for their seniors. If you go in Latin America, if you go in Asia, if you go in Africa, if you go almost any area of the globe, seniors are revered. It's only somehow in Western civilization the last couple of decades that our respect for seniors by some areas in our society is that, well, they have opinions that are antiquated and don't need to be listened to. I have found throughout my life, and maybe it's because I come from a broken home, part of what has been blessed, the Lord has blessed me with, are people with incredible wisdom and perspective that have been put in my life at just the right moments, that have given me counsel. and has directed me on the right path. And so being the people's protector for the most vulnerable, but for one of the most important segments of our population is critical. But we wouldn't be able to do this without a partnership. And when I say gratitude, I want to thank my friends, my men and women in law enforcement, both the police department and the sheriff's department. Going back to that theme of gratitude, they have the hardest job in America. And unfortunately, sometimes the people have not shown enough gratitude for what is the most difficult job. You know, I go to work in the morning, I put on a coat and tie, I grab a coffee mug. They go to work in the morning, they have to put on a bulletproof vest. I don't know of any other job like it. If there is a crisis, if there is a crime, they run towards the gunfire, they run towards the incident when the rest of us run away. And so the work they do every day to keep us safe in all levels, this is one more way. The symbol for law enforcement is a shield. That is so appropriate. You all are a shield for our communities. And I just want to say on behalf of a grateful governor and a grateful Commonwealth, thank you for the work you do every day. I need to thank the extraordinary men and women in the Office of the Attorney General. It's one of the great joys. Being able to meet some extraordinary men and women that work every day in my office, in all areas of the state. Patty is here. She does fantastic work. So many people in my office do. And they really take seriously that idea of being the people's protector as well. But I want to particularly thank the volunteers that are here that help and work with law enforcement in my office with our seniors. You are literally represent the very, very best of who we are as a country. That may surprise you a little bit, but we're a unique nation. There is not a country on the planet that gives the amount of volunteer hours as Americans do. There's not a country on the planet that gives the amount of money to charity as Americans do. And that has always been that way since our founding. One of the favorite stories I like to share is Alexis de Tocqueville. He was sent over by the King of France to try to figure out Americans. It's the early 1800s, we're a new country, everybody thought we would fail. And the King of France decided to send them to America to say, figure out why America is booming, what's making Americans tick. And so he thought, well, if you want to understand France, you go to Paris. If you want to understand Russia, you go to Moscow. If you want to understand England, go to London. So the first place he went to was Washington. And he was crestfallen. Just muddy streets, it was a backwater town. And he realized, for me to understand America, I have to go see America. And he did his tour of America. And it became a book that used to be required reading in our classrooms called Democracy in America. It's fascinating. But he said, he realized Americans are different. They have this dual nature. They have both an impassionate belief in individual rights. I want to be able to worship God in a manner according to my conscience. I want to be able to criticize my government. But I also have an incredible sense of community. My church and my synagogue is the center of my community, and an incredible sense that if there is a problem, we will stand in the gap and we will help fix the problem. They don't wait for somebody to do something, they do it. And he said this, he said, America is great because she is good. If she ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great. I love listening to podcasts. I'm on the road a lot. And I had a chance to listen to podcasts from an Indian immigrant who described the uniqueness of this country. And he told the story about his parents visiting him for the very first time from India. And he was really working through his mind, what is going to be the thing that shocks him the most about America? Is it our stores? Is it our cities? Is it our natural beauty? And he picks them on the airport and they're driving to their destination. And they passed an Adopt a Highway sign from a local Rotary Club. You all seen those? Yeah. And his parents are very curious by this. They're fascinated by this. What do they mean by adopt a highway? Do they charge a toll? No. Do they own it? No. Do they get a tax for it? No. What do they do? Well, they adopt about this 2-mile stretch of highway. They go out on the weekends and they clean it up. Why? They paid for this? No. Do they get any benefit from this? No. Well, why in the world would they do that? And he said, because they're Americans. Because they realize there's a problem and there's a need, and they stand in the gap. And he realized that is what encapsulated them. That this sense of service, this sense that there's a need in our community and we're going to do it and help our fellow man. That scarlet thread that Alexis Atokvo recognized is still with us today. And so you very much represent, by giving up your hours, when you could do anything else, but giving up the hours that you do to volunteer and work with our fellow seniors on this issue, because you are the very, very best at who we are as a people. And it goes back to my theme of gratitude. Thank you. On behalf of the grateful Commonwealth, thank you for what you do. And so we are now going to go through the chartering documents. We're going to sign some. But it's really when you put your signature on a piece of paper, dating back even to ancient Roman times, it's a symbol of a commitment. And everybody, as they come forward and as we sign that, it's a continued, renewed commitment to you, to TRIAD, to the idea of helping and protecting our most vulnerable. It's something that we all take seriously. We continue, it's part of our mission statement at my office, Sheriff's Office, the Police Department, and every single organization that's represented here. Thank you for standing in the gap and what you do to build a better Virginia. God bless you.
All right, I'd like to invite the Attorney General to remain up here for the contract signing, but I'd also like to call up Sheriff Mark Butler of the Warren County Sheriff's Office, Chief Cale McGalis of the Front Royal Police Department, and Chief James Bonzano from the Warren County Fire and Rescue.
Better about signing this since it's already been examined by an attorney.
I think we wrote it.
Right.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Oh my God.
Should not have to watch our sheriff.
I didn't have my glasses on.
Same way.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Yes, indeed.
Why are you pushing me? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
And how appropriate is this to have a senior as well as someone with the only eyewear to sign this? Attorney General.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can we get the 5 of you to
Yes.
come take a picture? Oh, tell him to come on back.
Sorry. Paparazzi needs some photos.
Ideally, come on back. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Ian. And don't forget your marker.
Waiting on the chief, waiting on the chief.
All right, let's get a lit.
The photo op.
All right.
Squeeze a little closer there.
All right. Trying to say something?
Look over there for a little bit, and then I will eventually need eyes over here.
Right. Let's all say triad.
Oh, we're looking at TRIAD.
All right. Okay. Eyes right, everybody. Side 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. Okay. I'm good.
All right.
All right, fantastic.
Oh, we have delegate.
We done? I'm not leaving until I'm told. That's right. right. See, I was sitting in the back. I just want to say thank you, guys. This is a wonderful event. I'm glad to be here, and it's an honor. I was just telling Attorney General that we have 3 delegates. Of course, you guys know that. 3 delegates that serve this lovely area, and it's always confusing. I think next year it's going to change over after the election, so that you guys can be whole. But I just want to say thank you for this event. And certainly, this is a very important project for the community as well as for the senior citizens, and it's going in the right direction to protect them and the betterment of public safety. So thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you.
You want me to talk about that? Okay, all right, yeah. All right, so I've been teed up to talk a little bit of the what we're doing, what our office is doing on scams, frauds, and opiates. We have 21 sections in the Attorney General's office, and that means we deal with everything from the Civil Rights Division to major crimes and emerging threats to consumer protection to environmental law. So you can imagine those they're almost like mini law firms in each one of those sections. There's a couple different, buckets we have. We coordinate a lot with our law enforcement on crime. We don't prosecute every crime because candidly we don't have the jurisdictional authority to. Most of that's done by your local Commonwealth attorney. But we do, and for example, have a certain assistant attorney general is assigned in the U.S. Attorney's Office on the federal side that we're able to go after, particularly on gun violence. We also go after bad corporate actors. We want corporations to be able to expand and hire and create jobs, but if you're taking advantage of people or you're defrauding individuals, we're going to come after you. When we talk about the opioid epidemic, which has ravaged so many communities, young and old, in every section of the Commonwealth, a lot of it started because certain companies decided to push opioids to doctors and saying these were not addictive when they were some of the most addictive chemicals on this planet. And it has affected every community no matter where you go. We have a close family friend back home, that daughter had a soccer injury, and they prescribed OxyContin, and she got addicted and then graduated to heroin and then died. And that story has been told over and over again. So one of the things I'm proud of in our office is that we have had the largest settlements in Virginia history on these opioid manufacturers that knew they were sending and flooding the zone, flooding so many communities with these addictive pain pills that people have graduated from. The sad thing is we now are dealing with fentanyl, which if you don't know what that is, it's 50 times stronger than heroin. And these illegal narcotics dealers are literally putting it in Percocets, putting it in pain pills, putting it in marijuana. And so what we try to tell everybody, young, old, seniors, and teenagers, unless it's from something you have gotten from your prescriber directly, do not put that in your body. We had a 15 and 14-year-old in Prince William County that somebody handed them a Percocet at a party and it was really fentanyl and they dropped dead. Enough fentanyl comes over across our southern border every year right now to kill every American in this country. It's so powerful that just fentanyl the size of this little fingernail will kill everybody in this room, and then some. That's how powerful it is. I've had state police officers tell me they've had to receive Narcan just because they've opened the trunk of a car and they've gotten a whiff of it. It's why I joined 20 other state attorneys generals. We sent a letter to President Biden asking him to declare fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, because we've lost 100,000 Americans in the last 12 months. To put things in perspective, that's the equivalent of 50,000 died in the Hiroshima bombing. It's like 2 nuclear bombs have gone off in 12 months. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. I think these officers would attest to it. So it's affecting at every level, every community. If there is a bad actor that's taking advantage of our seniors, let us know. We have a consumer protection division that's quite aggressive. Let us know. We work regularly with the state police, the Fusion Center, which is their intelligence gathering operation. I get daily bulletins on what they're gathering. The bottom line is we have a lot of bad state actors and non-state actors overseas that get the phone numbers for seniors, and they portray themselves as, sometimes it's IRS agents, sometimes it's an Amazon employee. Pick your large corporation. You've won a free getaway with Marriott. We just need your social security number. Never, ever, ever, it goes without saying, ever provide anybody your private details over the phone. On the web, if you don't have that symbol that shows it's locked, it's probably a fake website. Because one of the things they constantly do, unless my mother is, well, she'd be very mad if I told you how old she was, but she is a senior. My mother gets bombarded with phone calls and emails. And I've had to really train into her, unless it's for me or somebody you know, you never ever under any circumstances open an attachment or click on a link. Even if it is somebody you know. If it's something simple as, here, look at this, and you haven't heard from this person in a while, even if they're in their contacts, that's a phishing expedition. Always be wary of clicking on and opening any links, because the problem is the bad guys get have gotten very, very sophisticated. And as a result, they're harder and harder to track down. And candidly, our federal agencies, they're overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed with the amount of these phishing attacks. So we want to work with you. The best way to stop crime is good information. That's the best crime prevention, is to make sure that people aren't inadvertently doing things that expose themselves, and making sure that our volunteers and our loved ones that work with it are giving them the tools they need as well. The great irony of this is that they target both ends of the spectrum. They aggressively target seniors, but they also aggressively target teenagers and younger people. Almost every single young person has one of these, which is a curse. And as a parent, I'm always in constant battles with my kids, on their use of that. But they aggressively target. When my daughter says, "Daddy, I want a free iPhone." Well, what do you mean you want a free iPhone? I just got a text message that says if I click on this link, I get a free iPhone. Can you check it out, because you tell me never to click on a link? And it takes me about 5 seconds to determine, well, sorry to break your heart, Santa didn't come early. You didn't get a free iPhone. But that the scammers are much more aggressive. And so in some ways, this is an amazing device. We're both more connected than we've ever been before as a society, and candidly more disconnected. I mean, 50% of Americans don't even know the name of their neighbor. So this is both a blessing and a curse. And it's a tool that can have amazing benefits, but also can open your home and the privacy of where you are to some incredibly bad actors that want to harm you, that want to steal from you, and exploit you. And so that's part of our job, is to both work with law enforcement and to make that focus. And so we wear a lot of hats in our office, but going after bad actors and protecting the most vulnerable, that's no higher calling from the Office of the Attorney General. So great to be with you and give you guys an update. So thank you, sir.
All right, does anybody have any questions for our Attorney General? If we don't have any questions can be directed to any of our local elected officials here or appointed first responders. So without any further ado, I don't have anything else. I'm going to invite Lieutenant Robbie Seal up to have some closing remarks for you guys. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I have a question in regards to opioids. I hear a lot of, and this is just me as someone who has family members, I guess since I was 15, that's addicted. And I want to know, because I've seen a lot of awareness but like when someone comes to you that wants to get clean right now, it's too many hoops, too much red tape. By the time you get through all of that, they've changed their minds. And I want to know what is going to be in place for Warren County, because I'm 50. I've been in this community since I was 17. And it's horrible. And for the people who do want to get help, it is a never-ending loop of there's no immediate placement for them to clean up at. When they do go, there's two choices. They can either kick in jail, which is in jail, or they can kick in a hospital, you know what I mean, which has much more compassion, much more services, a better handle on getting them to have a clear head. But like my cousin got put out at 72 hours when anybody that's dealing in the system knows that they need at least 30 to 60 days to even have a fair chance at sobriety and being clean. And honestly, as a citizen, I'm tired of talking about prevention, and I'm tired of talking about awareness. I would like to be on the side of whoever's ready to roll their sleeves up. We have all these buildings sitting around here that are empty that could be used for the people who do want to come off the street and kind of get their heads cleared. But there's no place.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, when is that going to happen?
So part of what makes this, particularly opioid addiction, so particularly hideous is it literally rewires your brain. It's part of why the 5-step program and others are much more difficult, because it is not so much a mental dependency, but it becomes a physical dependency. It is literally your brain has been rewired, and you're right, it takes about 30 to 60 days to begin the process of unwiring it. You're right, we have a serious problem with inpatient treatment centers. The one good news is that money, this $500 million plus collectively that's coming back, that is not coming to my office. We have set up the Opioid Abatement Authority. It's headed up, the chairman of it is State Senator Todd Pillion. And the Opioid Abatement Authority, the entire model of this is that for this money to be going out to communities. Every county and every locality has their own treatment centers. They can right now apply to the Opioid Abatement Authority to get that money. And then they can then expand their capacity to have more inpatient treatment. So what you have described at its core is a capacity problem. The idea is to get these these settlements we have gotten from these huge pharmaceutical companies, these profits they got on the backs and the deaths of innocent Virginians, and take those drug profits, and it doesn't go to my office, doesn't go in our state treasury, it goes back into the communities for treatment to help people. So that is steadied up. There should be a link on our state website, or if you just Google Virginia Opioid Abatement, ABA, TEMENT, I might have misspelled that. Opioid Abatement Authority. They have the process of how localities then apply, and that's going to be a critical part. As I've told my team, that money sitting at the Abatement Authority is not doing people good. So our job, that's just been set up, and so literally, I think the first meeting may have been, it was July. It has literally just been set up. And so our job now is to get this money flooded out of Richmond into the communities for treatment. And hopefully that will be one of many steps for us. You're right, because it's one thing, prevention is great. The reality is we have a record number. We have 4 Virginians on average dying a day from addiction. And the reality is if you've ever had a loved one that has struggled with addiction, if you've ever had a loved one that has struggled with depression, they will tell you social isolation is the single worst box you can ever be put in. We just did that to 300 million Americans. And I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback, but that's what we did for 18 months during COVID. We've never faced that before as an American family. We adopted a lot of methods to try to beat this virus, but it was like squeezing the air in a balloon. One of the byproducts of the social isolation, people weren't going to their churches or seeing their communities, was we've seen skyrocketing addiction and deaths of despair. And now we're coming out of that, and now it is very incumbent upon us as elected officials to get every tool in the toolbox to help the members of our American family that are struggling with addiction. And so the Opioid Abatement Authority, I think, is one step of many to help, if that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, just one-
I'm gonna-
I just want to know who in this room for Warren County, what I look towards. Does anybody in this room for Warren County know what he's talking about? So that I can go to them, because I understand it don't come to their
Yeah.
office.
You have?
Send it to them.
We have it. We'll get it sent to law enforcement. We have part of our, when I go back to 90% of life's problems is poor miscommunication. It's letting localities know. In some localities, like Southwest Virginia has been devastated by this. They've already, they're lining up and letting people know, hey, there's this money to get to these communities to help with treatment. We will make a point of Wells knowing that the mayor of Front Royal, the leadership, the Board of Supervisors, the leadership in Warren County are aware of this to go ahead and get their applications in so this money can be distributed. Thank you. And there was ma'am, you had a question?
I do. The treatment center here in Warren County, a couple of questions. When is that opening? Is that for adults? Is that for youth? Is it government funded?
That I don't know specifically for Warren County off the top of my head. But every inpatient treatment center is for anybody struggling with addiction. Now we also have, candidly, and this is something we're seeing in when I talk about the mental health crisis, we don't have enough beds for the mental health crisis we're dealing with. And we have the space but not the labor. We actually have beds, to your point about the space. It's not a capacity issue when it comes to beds for those dealing with mental health crisis. It's the capacity is we don't have the staffers that can address that.
Well, I don't know. I think that also they're just not educated on mental health, how to.
Well, that is true, and some of it is, and I've been working law enforcement. Our law enforcement have been having to execute what are called TDOs, these folks that say they're a threat to themselves or others, and what happens is they're having a temporary mental health crisis, but because there's no bed, these officers are literally sitting in a hospital waiting room for 24 hours. They're not on the streets, they're not going after drunk drivers, they're not going after drug dealers selling fentanyl. And so there's about 11, the governor and I have talked a lot about, there's about 11 things that have gone wrong to get to where we are. It's gonna take about 11 steps to get out. And I'd love to say there's this magic button. There's not. It's gonna take a very systematic, a lot of it is the money and the financing, which we're putting more money in both mental health services and addiction treatment through the Abatement Authority and others than we ever have. But we have a labor shortage. We have a lot of Americans that are dropped out of the labor force during COVID. And there's a million reasons why you can point to, but that's the reality. We have a labor shortage, and feeding that, and you can't just take anybody off the street to handle the uniqueness of a mental health crisis. We also have hospitals also dealing with the fact that some people are having an adverse reaction to marijuana, THC. Somebody that is, the THC levels today are not what folks smoked at Woodstock. They're about 20 to 40 times higher in the potency. And it is, you talk to people on dealing with mental health, they can't tell if somebody's dealing with an episode of paranoid schizophrenia, whether they're just high. And so that's also overwhelming. So there's a lot of factors right now that are overwhelming, and so it's gonna take really smart, effective, efficient steps to get back. But the labor shortage right now has been a critical component of how we get back there. And a lot of it just, it's basic economics. If we could get more money in the system to pay more, hopefully we can get folks back. But it's a tough, people working in the mental health industry will tell you, they are worn out. They are overwhelmed. In many ways, they sound almost like some of my friends in law enforcement. They feel underappreciated and overworked. That is not good right now. And so right now we're trying to flood the resources to get in there to give them the help.
But I think when you reach out as an administrator in a nursing home, when we reach out for help, there's little or no help. Even especially with the vets, and they serve our country, and we're fighting a battle. Probably about 10 years ago, I had a resident who was mental health, was followed by the VA, and he was put in jail. Went to the news watch and got drunk, and they had no idea how to handle him. It was devastating for him. He was treated like an individual off the street, and we almost had to beg and plead to even go and give his medicine to me.
That's why I've been a big, I'm a believer that Culpeper has this veterans courts. It's really a veterans docket, but recognize that the men and women that have served, that have come back with some of them enormous, either struggling with PTSD or other physical ailments, recognize that they're in a unique position and try to work with them to get them the help. I've always said that you have to have two very, very different paths. You should absolutely have stiff criminal penalties for the dealers that are selling poison to our communities. For those struggling with addiction, those that had an injury and their doctor inadvertently got them hooked on opioids and then they graduated to heroin because they won't get another prescription, they're dealing with addiction. And the worst place, some ways you could put them, is behind the bars. You have to get them treatment. And so you have to have that kind of dual track where you are having compassion and treatment for those struggling with the horrors of addiction, and then going after the cartels and going after the dealers that are flooding the areas. I mean, the cartels are so insidious. They will find a community that has never had a meth problem. They'll flood it with free meth just to create new customers. The dealers will literally lace heroin with fentanyl because they actually get more customers if some of their customers die. Why? Because the word gets on the street they have the pure heroin. And if you're dealing with heroin addiction, you have to get stronger and stronger hit to get the same high. So in my mind, it's counterintuitive. If you're selling a product that kills some of your customers, I'm not going to touch it. It shows you how hideous addiction can be, where you will literally, the word on the street is they will intentionally poison, knowing they're giving something that's 50 times more powerful than heroin that will drop you dead, because the word will get on the street and they'll get more customers. That's how evil it is. That is how evil it is. And it's one reason why I've long been advocated for law enforcement and prosecutors to have the tool that if you sell somebody fentanyl, you should be charged with second-degree murder. And that was the bill that got vetoed a couple of years ago. Governor Youngkin has said he would sign it. It died last year on a single vote. I'm hoping it will get to the governor's desk this year, or I guess in January next year. But we also got to give tools for law enforcement too. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. Good news is we're going to get through it because we're Americans. If there's ever been a battle we've ever faced we haven't been able to conquer. Winston Churchill once said, Americans always do the right thing after we've exhausted all other options. But we have that unique ability as a people to always rise up, and I know that's what we'll do. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, maybe this is part for the Warren County Sheriff Department. Do you guys come out and teach staff how to protect themselves? Because we all know that Warren County, Sheriff County is an epidemic of drug abuse. Obviously, in our facilities, we have opiates by the abundance. Do you come out and teach how to protect yourself if someone came in and they have a gun and they're trying to get the opiates? Is there anyone that does that?
Sheriff Butler?
Actually, since I got in office, we've been teaching on a lot of different angles. COVID kind of slowed a lot of things down. The Attorney General said it right, the workforce is hard, so filling our vacancies just like the Front Royal and so forth, we're running ragged, everybody's on call, everybody's working as much as we can. Just last week, we did an active shooter class for all the churches, and so we're trying to reach out to the community. We're working with the Judge Nancy Williams of JDNR to focus on educating the youth. So we're getting ready to start a youth academy to help teach the youth and kind of mentor them. We've increased our SROs. If you look at them, we're not just hiring people just to go work SRO. 3 of our SROs are tag team members now. We're trying to coach in different sports. We even have Ryan Jewell that works for us part-time to reach out to the seniors. We're trying every angle we can, ma'am. Lieutenant Seal and Sergeant Fritz, we're nonstop reaching out to the community. I believe in the last 3 years, our community outreach is probably up 300%. So we're trying, but there's only 24 hours in a day. And we really are. I've been coaching in this area for 20 some years, and it's bad when I go on the street and I go out and make an arrest, and I do. It's one of the kids I coached. So I get it. I get it. It's tough. We talk about PTSD. I've been working with able forces. The sheriff's office got a part of the PAYS program. So every vet who comes out is guaranteed an interview for a job. We're trying to work with the RSW to create better programs. It's just hard right now. It really is. We have to join together as a community. That's why if you look up there, it says we. That's not me. That's not we as a sheriff's office. That's we as a community need to come together because we can't fight it on our own. We can't fight it on our own. And we fight each other, I guarantee it. But it's to do the right thing. I've never been prouder of the sheriff's office in my life and Board of Supervisors. They ask hard questions, but we're trying. We're fighting at every angle we can. If you want, you call, we'll come. We'll figure a way.
Thank you.
We'll figure a way. I promise you that. That's what he worked so hard for. And Sergeant Fritz is trying to follow in his footsteps, and I think Sergeant Fritz will do just fine. 8 years from now when me and Robbie decide to step away. if not 12. So I promise you, if you reach out to the sheriff's office, if I'm not there, somebody will talk to you. If I'm there, I'll talk to you.
And you're officer?
I'm Sheriff Butler.
Sheriff, all right. Thank you.
You're very welcome, ma'am.
I appreciate your time.
All right, well, I'm happy to follow up with some questions after. Anything we ever get? Oh, there is a question there.
Yeah, you mentioned that you had programs for the high schoolers. Do you deal with any kind of programs for the elementary and the junior high school or middle schools?
Well, we have something called Virginia Rules, which I think one of the first things, the expectations of education should be producing great and good citizens. And so Virginia Rules is almost like a civics type program that we really have gotten into our high schools, and I'm pretty sure it also applies in our middle schools, but I know it's definitely in our high schools. But I would say, one of the things that does concern me when we look in general in education, it's almost going back to that theme of gratitude. They do a poll every year, NPR does it, of just asking people how proud they are to be an American. And only 1/3 of young people ages 18 to 29 said they were either very or even somewhat proud. That broke my heart. I mean, Miyares is a different name. My mother got on the airplane as a scared 19-year-old homeless teenager in Havana, Cuba with nothing. She came to this amazing country, and when I say this is a nation of second chances, it's the American miracle. A free society cannot remain free if an entire generation of young people don't understand what makes us unique. If you don't realize we're unique, and this is what I tell when I speak to high school groups, if you don't think we're unique people, go on YouTube, watch the opening game of the Summer Olympics last year. Tokyo Olympics. I love the Olympics. I love that magical moment where they do the Parade of Nations. And the host country gets to show off the very best of who they are, and they all walk in. And they get to the United States. And it's a magical moment. And at first you don't realize it until you kind of hit rewind. You realize that of 119 countries that walk in, there is only one country, only one, that when the delegation walks in, those proud athletes, they look like the entire world. Every color, every creed, every race. We have gotten a lot of things wrong in this country. We've gotten a lot more things right than we've gotten it wrong. And we are that last best hope on earth that Abraham Lincoln described. My favorite thing to do as your Attorney General is speak at naturalization ceremonies. If you ever doubt that we're an amazing country, go to one. Last one I spoke at last week, 69 people, 35 different countries. They are grateful. They have such gratitude. I worry about what's happening right now and why I like to speak to high school groups. They're losing that sense of who we are as a people. We've gone through a lot as a country, as an American family. I get that. It's been a tough 2 years. But the idea that we don't recognize that we are fundamentally a good, decent, and noble country, that worries me. And so that sense of apathy, that sense of we're really not that special, that really bothers me about who we are as a people, because we have too many big problems as Americans that we can't lose that idea of who we are. And that probably concerns me as much as anything. All right, I'm off my soapbox, I'm sorry. All right, I'm glad to handle some questions afterwards. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's an honor to be your Attorney General. Thank you all.
Give another big round of applause for our Attorney General. Great insight, great message on resources that his office has. I would like to acknowledge, actually, great questions out there in the audience. I do, looking in our crowd, we do have some representation from our local government leaders in the community. A couple members of our two supervisors from our Board of Supervisors, Mr. Walt May, Mr. Wilson, and our own Commonwealth Attorney, Mr. John Bell.
Yeah.
Sure, well, I did see, we have a couple other supervisors, I'm sorry, they should have sat up front, I'm sorry, Miss Vicki Cook. And the chair of our Board of Supervisors, Ms. Cheryl Poe. Cheryl, all the way back. So we do have a lot of representation. On those questions, and I think it's appropriate since we're on that subject, I would like to ask this lady, our supervisor, Ms. Dolores Oakes, to step up. She headed a committee here in Warren County. It's our Drug Intervention Committee, and of course, it's on the purpose of what we're doing as a community, as leaders in the community, to fight this battle of drug addictions, of substance abuse. And of course, with this committee, we're looking to establish a drug court in Warren County. I'd like to introduce Ms. Dolores Oakes to speak, and hopefully go further with the answer to your question on the local level.
Yes, thank you.
So I just want to tell you guys, I had no idea that Robbie was going to ask me to speak. So I don't have anything prepared, but I can talk to you from my heart. So 2 years ago, one of the town council members called me and he said, Dolores, we lost a 14-year-old girl last night to, she had taken, I think she thought was a Xanax. And she had gone to bed and she never woke up again. And that tore our hearts apart. So we formed a coalition between the town council and the Warren County Board of Supervisors, and we loosely called it the Front Royal Warren County Drug Prevention Committee. And what we attempted to do, we hired that beautiful woman in the back over there, Miss Beth Revis, to kind of be our feet on the ground. And she did research in what we could do to make a difference. And I will tell you that there are many of our partners in this room that participated. I didn't do this by myself. There, our sheriff, Robbie, our chief of police, we have representation from the fire department, we have representation from the Warren Coalition, social services, and a number of people. We sat in a room and we said, what can we do to make a difference to Warren County residents, particularly our kids? And what we came up with was we did not have a drug court in Warren County, and that we thought might create a first step. And that first step would be addressing people who had long-term drug addiction and who, instead of putting them in jail for the 7th time, would give them a choice and say to them, you can participate in a drug court. So we started taking steps to establish this drug court along with John Bell, our Commonwealth Attorney. We have probation and parole. We have the public defender from Winchester, Tim Coyne, and Valley Health, and we all sat down and said, this is one way we can make a difference in our community. A drug court is a drug rehabilitation program. So it gives the folks very intensive drug treatment, and we give them a fighting chance. So that was our first step. Well, one of the things that does is that attracts other counseling services. They see your community has made a commitment. So other drug consulting organizations, counselors will start to come into your community. That is our first step. It is not the end all be all, but it is something. We felt like we could do something. That program is now probably, where is it, John? I'd say at the very beginning stages, but we have received some support in getting all the training we need for our drug court program. So we're hopeful that that will be established within a year.
The training for that is going to be starting next month.
Yeah, which is phenomenal because normally the wait times are longer, but we've had some help getting into the program a little sooner because we are so far along. So to answer your question, we have a long way to go.
Is there a behavioral health, mental health piece in that too?
Yes, ma'am. It's an intense program. Northwestern Community Services is also one of our partners, and they provide mental health counseling, behavioral health counseling. They have mentors, they have peer counseling. There are so many components to this, and lots of moving parts. But we are hopeful, and we have a lot of hope. And in fact, the day that the drug court was approved, we said hope is come to Warren County. So that's in Front Royal. So that's my answer for you today. I am happy to meet with anybody who wants to talk about this program or who wants to talk about how they can help volunteer, help us search, help us, pull different parts and pieces together to make a difference to our citizens. You're welcome.
Thank you, Dolores. So, as you see behind me, a number of representatives obviously are now our partners with this signing agreement of our Front Royal Warren County TRIAD. And of course, that partnership is us creating, a unique network of resources, of people that are going to look out for the best interests of our seniors out here in our whole community. At this time, we're getting ready to close, of course, a little early, but grandly so. Is there anybody else? I guess any of our partners would like to say anything before we end today? Chief?
Just happy to be here, happy to be part of the process, and look forward to doing great things together. Thank you.
Chief Manzano?
I can't beat that.
All right. Again, thank you. Actually, Delegate Wiley, thank you for being here. You slipped it on me. I would have recognized you, but I hadn't seen you before you came up here and said a few words. But thank you. Again, a big hand for all our guests, our special guests. This actually ends our ceremony today. Again, thank you all very much for having the hearts to attend this meeting and having the hearts to look after those that are very vulnerable in our society, and helping them not be victims out here, and give them the quality of life they richly deserve. After all, they were here before us. They're still amongst us. We're still learning from them. That is part of the education we received in our lifetime. Yes, Misty?
I just want to say thank you guys, because I am part of this wonderful committee. If you look at my seniors, they're my family. They're also every single person who stands up here today. Thank you from our senior center and from Seniors First.
Okay, enjoy your day, rest of the day. Again, thank you for being here.